Thank you. You may call your first witness.
Oh, Your Honor, pardon me, before we do that, Ms. Lambert needs to go find our expert witness, so she's going to be leaving this seat, just heads up.
Not a problem.
A little bit of a musical chair switcheroo here. I'll wait for them to get seated, Your Honor.
You don't need to play musical chairs?
I'm not quite.
You're good?
Your Honor. I'm just the two of us conversating.
I'm really good.
Ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I just pause? I'm so sorry.
You know, we could just take one more time to get.
Not a problem.
Sorry, everybody, it just takes like 5 minutes.
And while they're doing that, I'm trying to find where the rules of evidence are. I have this notebook here, but I don't see them.
Yes, Your Honor. If they're not in that binder, you can try to pull up a digital copy and reference them as they become applicable, if that's okay.
Anybody have a hard copy?
Unfortunately, I mean, Your Honor, we've got the federal rules of evidence. It's just slightly different in this jurisdiction. There's a few rules that are excluded, but what is included is the same. If that makes any sense at all.
Sure.
All right. Here you go, Your Honor.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, we got a backup plan. Thank you all for your patience. We really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome for dealing with this. Okay, cool. See, as soon as you start doing the backup, the screen decides to cooperate and stuff. All right. Good, what do you good? Okay, take two, here we go.
Yes, you may call your witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Emery Everheart.
Good morning.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Emma Rose Maloney,
Where are you from?
Birmingham, Alabama.
What do you do for a living?
Guns.
Ma'am, can you elaborate a bit on that answer?
I'm a firearm safety consultant, making sure that the widespread use of firearms is as safe as possible.
Ma'am, what exactly does the work of a firearm safety consultant involve?
I teach people how to properly use their guns and implement risk management techniques to make it less dangerous.
How did you become a firearm safety consultant?
Well, I grew up around guns. I mean, my daddy took hunting season more seriously than Christmas, and he taught us how to use all our weapons safely, and I want to do the same thing. So I got my BS in criminal justice from Georgia State. That's the gun part. And then I got my master's in education from the University of Georgia. That's the teaching part.
So what did you do after earning your degrees?
I joined the police force.
Did you receive any kind of special training with firearms?
Yes, ma'am. I had 8 years of training and experience with firearms before I became an instructor to a class of 8 officers. And, just kind of teaching these men how to properly and confidently use their guns so they're not skittish, which can cause injury.
So what brings you to court today?
Well, I was asked to analyze the circumstances surrounding Max Maximilian's death during the bullet catch trick and determine if Lambert Family Carnival violated safety practices.
How did you go about that determination?
Well, I employed the standard method in my field. It's a post-incident safety evaluation.
What materials did you review?
Well, I looked at the affidavits of one Gabby Gray and Angel Ashmore, as well as some exhibits in connection to the case and my own experience and knowledge of firearms and firearm safety.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about that bullet catch trick. Ma'am, have you ever seen that trick performed in person before?
Yes, ma'am, I have. It's very dangerous.
Is there any way for it to be performed safely?
Yes, it can be if you follow the three main fail-safes. They're called the NRA.
The NRA, can you tell us what that stands for in this context?
Right, well, it's three main things. You've got the N, that's no real bullets, the R, repairs, and A, angles.
Okay, so let's take those one at a time, starting with the N, no real bullets. And if you're not using real bullets for the bullet catch trick, what are you supposed to use?
Blanks.
Well, ma'am, would you be able to recognize a photo of some blanks in a bullet if I showed it to you?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
I'm approaching opposing counsel with what's been marked as Exhibit 7. Your Honor, this can be entered any time after opening statements without objection.
Very well.
I'm approaching the witness with the same.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what is it that I just handed you?
Well, this is a picture of some blanks and a bullet.
And the plaintiff moves to enter Exhibit 7.
Without objection, Your Honor.
It'll be received.
So, ma'am, we were just talking about blanks, bullets. Can you use that photo to describe the difference between the two?
Oh, I sure can. Well, if you look right here, I mean, you can sort of clearly see the difference between these two things. These are blanks, and that's the bullet. Now, the bullet is made up of two main parts. You got this silver bit here, which is the shell casing filled with gunpowder. And this red bit at the front, that's the actual bullet. So when you load this into the gun and fire it, the shell casing drops to the ground, and the gunpowder, it propels the bullet forward, and that's what lodges it into your target.
What about those blanks? Can you tell us how that works?
Well, the blanks, I mean, they're all bark, no bite. It's got that same shell casing full of gunpowder, but it doesn't have the actual bullet on top. So when you load this into a gun and fire it, the shell casing, it still drops to the ground, and you get that bang from the gunpowder, but nothing is shot out of the gun.
So let's move on to the R for repairs.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what repairs are necessary?
Yes, it's deep cleaning and maintaining the gun.
And why is that important?
Well, even with blanks, it can be very dangerous. A gun is like a high-powered leaf blower. You know, if there's any debris or anything inside, it'll be shot out with an extreme force. It'll act like that missing bullet.
So that third fail-safe you mentioned, the A for angles. What do you mean when you reference angles for the bullet catch trick?
Well, even if you're still implementing those two fail-safes, you should still never actually aim the gun at someone.
And if you're not supposed to aim the gun at someone, how is the trick supposed to go?
You know what? Let me just show you.
All right, Your Honor, permission for Miss Everheart to step down and make use of the well.
Certainly.
For us.
Yes.
I got a flashlight somewhere in my bag.
Your Honor, do I have permission to move just to see what is going on?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, thank you. And
You
what are
can
we
just
gonna do?
move over here a little bit. All right. Now I want you to turn that flashlight on and point it right between my eyes. And don't worry, it's not actually going to hurt.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Wonderful. Well, now as you can probably see, she's pointing this right at my head. And if this were done, well, she shot it, I'd be dead as a doornail. But if I were the armorer in this case, I'd have her make this adjustment. I can just come up and move you real quick. Sure. Right. Back up again. Now, if you're looking at me from there, it still looks like she's pointing this gun towards my head. But if we can, and don't jump her boots to this one, kill the lights. A little bit more. There we go. Now, if you follow the trajectory of the beam, you can see it's going past me and onto the wall. The bullet's just whizzing right on by my head. House lights up. That's the illusion. That's how you do it safely.
Can you retake your seat, ma'am?
You want to keep it? Or?
You don't have to stop. All right, so let's compare those safety standards you just mentioned to how the trick was prepared for when it was actually performed. Ma'am, do you know who was responsible for maintaining the gun used in the trick?
Yes, ma'am. That was the prop master and armorer, Angel Ashmore.
For that first failsafe, no real bullets. Did you find evidence that Mr. Ashmore separated the real bullets from the blanks?
No, ma'am. They actually bought bullets and blanks together and then kept them on site. Now, live ammunition should never even be brought into the premises where a prop gun is being used, let alone stored there.
But what about that second fail-safe, the R for repairs? Did Mr. Ashmore indicate that he cleaned the gun thoroughly?
No, when looking at his statement, there's only ever a reference to quickly cleaning the gun, nothing about a consistent, deep cleaning.
And that A for angles. Ma'am, did you find any evidence that Mr. Ashmore instructed the performers on how to aim the gun, just like you did with me?
No, ma'am, no, I did not. In fact, I was concerned about the lack of time that the armor spent with the performers, telling them how to do the trick and making sure that they were comfortable.
Well, was there any explanation as to why you didn't find that evidence of them following fail-safes?
Well, you had one man doing two jobs. Angel Ashmore was both prop master and armor.
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. This is based in the expert's review of the materials that she mentioned earlier in this direct examination.
How is this speculation?
Yes, Your Honor, in response to counsel's question is whether there was evidence that this person found of why the defendant didn't follow these certain protocols. Your Honor, this witness would be speculating into beyond a rationally based perception to tell the members of the jury why certain actions were taken. She can't delve into the mindset of those people to say that was the reason that certain actions were taken.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. She's not delving into any kind of mindset. In this jurisdiction for the pretrial order, all objections have been waived to the expert conclusions under 702 that were listed in this expert's report. She disclosed this opinion that in her evaluation of all the materials in this case, the exhibits and the affidavits that she reviewed, she found that one possible explanation is the fact that one person had two jobs. It's not speculative.
Your objection is overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may continue.
Go ahead and finish that answer.
I don't even know where I was talking from. Can you ask me again?
Absolutely, ma'am. So, did you find any explanation as to why?
Right. Well, as I was saying, you have one person doing two jobs of armor and prop master. And when you have one person, Angel Ashmore, doing both of these without any assistant, well, then it's up to the owner of the carnival to oversee and double check all of their work. And I found no evidence of that occurring.
So, what was your conclusion about Lambert Family Carnival?
Lambert Family Carnival and their armor, Angel Ashmore, well, they were responsible for the gun, the bullet catch trick, and the safety of Maximilian. Because they did not properly follow safety and firearm procedure, well, they failed in that responsibility.
Thank you for your time, ma'am. Your Honor, I've got nothing further.
Thank you. You're cross, Mr. Jones.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I begin, permission to approach opposing counsel and grab a copy of the exhibit.
Of course.
Of course, it's fine for you right here.
And Your Honor, like we mentioned in pre-trial, this is one of those exhibits that can come in without any further foundation, so we offer that.
Very well.
Next.
Please.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon to you too.
Now, you said something on direct examination that I found interesting. You said when you were asked to look into this case, you were asked to determine whether Legacy Family Carnival was responsible for Mr. Maximilian's death. Did I get that right?
If they committed any safety violations, yes, sir.
Man, we can certainly agree that's one possible version of looking at the facts, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, there's an entire other part of this investigation that you just ignored.
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Well, let's talk about it. Because, man, we can certainly agree that there's a coroner's report that you saw, right?
Yes.
That coroner, they found that there were a couple of possibilities for how Mr. Maximilian died.
Right. They determined that Maximilian's cause of death was either an actual bullet being shot at his head or debris from the gun being launched at his head. It could not be determined either way.
Hang on, let's break that down a little bit. That coroner found that this injury was so severe, right?
Yes, sir.
So severe that they could not determine the actual cause of Mr. Maximilian's death.
Correct.
And like you said, one of those possibilities, that's that Mr. Maximilian died from a blank misfire, right?
Right.
The second one of those possibilities that coroner found was that he died from a bullet misfire, from a bullet being in that gun, right?
Yes, sir. If a bullet was put into that gun instead of blank.
From a bullet hitting him dead on in his head.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Let's talk about that second possibility just a little bit more, because man, you actually know some information about how that gun was being stored, don't you?
I do.
You know it was stored in a prop tent?
Yes, the Lambert family carnival had a prop tent where they kept all their equipment.
More specifically, man, you know it was being stored in a lockbox, right?
Yes, sir.
You'd recognize that lockbox if I showed it to you.
Oh, I would.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what's just been entered as Exhibit 5.
Yes.
Here you go.
Thank you.
You recognize that picture, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's a lockbox.
Fair and accurate picture of the one that was on the property at Lacy Family Park?
I believe so.
Now, you agree with me that this is where that gun was being stored, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, this doesn't have a padlock on it,
No, it's a key lock.
no combination on
No, sir, just the key.
it, no place for a fingerprint.
No,
Like you've been telling us, there's a keyhole here, right?
that's correct.
You actually know a thing or two about the keys that fit this lockbox, don't you?
Well, yes, there were only two people that had the key to this lockbox, and that was the armorer and Max's assistant, Gabby Gray.
Man, that armorer, you don't know where he was keeping those keys, do you?
No, sir.
You don't know whether those keys were given to other people, do you?
No, sir, just that would be a clear violation of safety practices.
So that's a yes.
Yes, sir.
And you don't know if someone took those keys.
No, sir, I couldn't tell you.
But am I correct in saying you also said on direct examination that bullets, they were stored together with blanks, right?
Right, blanks and bullets were both on the premises.
Alongside this lockbox in that same prop. True?
Correct?
I want to talk about if there's a person who might have taken those keys we were just talking about. We can put that down there.
Thank you.
Man, you told us about reviewing a couple affidavits when we were speaking with Ms. Dednoff, right?
Yes, too.
The assistant that Mr. Maximilian had, true?
Yes, sir, Gabby Gray.
And the property master, the prop master, Mr. Ashley.
Correct.
Man, we certainly never were given an affidavit by a person named Agent Tav Thorne, right?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative, if I may be heard.
Very well.
Your Honor, Mr. Jones has already elicited exactly what materials she's reviewed. In fact, it's already came in on direct examination. As we heard in opening statements, the defense's entire theory is that they're accusing Taft Thorne or a party representative of some kind of conspiracy. Instead of actually having these questions have any kind of probative value, they're just testifying onto the record with questions that have value.
Response, Your Honor?
Please.
First, Your Honor, the question is not argumentative. She can answer whether or not she was offered a report. And as to the 403 argument, it's certainly more probative than it is prejudicial for this witness, for the members of the jury to know what material she was given in preparation for this case.
I agree. Your objection is overruled.
Now, we'll ask that question one more time. You certainly weren't given an affidavit of a person named Agent Tav Thorne, right?
No, sir, I was not.
Let's talk about why. Because, man, the people who gave you all your materials for this investigation, that's these people right here, isn't it?
I collected, yes, all the material I needed for my case.
The plaintiff in this trial, right?
Yes, sir.
The plaintiff who hired you, right?
Correct.
The plaintiff who asked you to be here to testify today.
Yes, sir, that's all true.
Now, you spoke with us, permission to grab an exhibit,
Yes.
and you spoke with us about these bullets, right?
Yes, the blanks and the bullet.
Man, your investigation, it didn't come to a conclusion about whether one of these bullets was intentionally placed into that gun.
No, sir, it was my opinion that that was likely not what happened, that it was just debris, but I could not be certain either way.
So let's be clear. It's not your conclusion that a bullet was not intentionally placed into that gun.
Correct.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Do you have time for redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor, this witness can be excused.
Very well. Thank you. May step
Thank
down.
you so much.
And Your Honor, I'm going to motion just retrieve that extra exhibit.
Yeah. I believe at this time you're going to call your expert.
That's right, Your Honor. We call Professor Tempest Trapp.
Here we go.
May I proceed?
Please.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Of course. I'm Professor Tempest Trapp.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Of course. Well, let's just get this out of the way. If I look familiar, it's because I was a professional escape artist for over 20 years. So you might know me as Tempest, the terrific Penn and Teller opened for me in the 80s. I'm past all that now, because if there's one thing even I can't escape, it's the price of my kids' college. So when I decided I wanted something a little more stable, I became an academic.
All right, what kind of work do you do currently?
I am a historian of magic, and yes, that is a real thing. What I do is review the history of magical tricks. I teach classes on magic. I help the University of Exeter develop a degree on occult sciences. I also sometimes consult with magicians on stagecraft. Relive the glory days.
How did you get involved with this case, ma'am?
I was hired by the defense to provide an evaluation of the bullet catch trick, which I understand was performed on July 14th of last year.
How did you actually conduct that review? What'd you do?
Well, I do what's called a historical analysis. I compare all of the measures that were taken in the implementation of that trick to how it's been done historically by magicians over time who had the same concerns about safety and realism.
Ma'am, is that method standard in your field?
Absolutely.
And what materials did you rely on when using that method?
Let's see. I reviewed 2 statements, one by the magician's assistant, the other by the carnival's armorer and trot master. I also reviewed the work of Miss Everheart. In addition, I looked through exhibits 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Were all of those materials sufficient for the method you used?
They were.
Ma'am, I gotta ask, did you reliably apply your method to those materials?
I always do.
Could you tell the jury what conclusion you reached?
Sure. Well, any magician who looks into how to perform the bullet catch trick will see that it has an extraordinarily bloody history. I mean, even if Lambert Family Carnival had done everything right, there's every possibility something could have gone wrong.
Gone wrong how?
A lot of ways, actually. In the past, there's been over a dozen ordinary misfires. More than that, in the past, this trick has been used by people with nefarious intentions to settle the score. If an actual bullet was placed in the gun, well, that would have been deadly too.
Okay, well,
Objection, Your Honor, as to speculation, may I be heard?
Yes.
Your Honor, the expert just testified that this bullet catch trick, a magician's trick, has been used in the past for nefarious purposes. Your Honor, that requires her to speculate into the mindset of these hypothetical people she's talking about and discuss their intention. She's not a mind reader, she can't do that.
Your Honor, the witness testified that she's an expert in the history of magic. She's allowed to testify about how the bullet catch trick has been used previously and the circumstances surrounding fatalities in its use.
May I be heard briefly, Your Honor?
Yes.
Certainly she can testify to the facts of the history of the bullet catch trick. But to go so far as to use that history to speculate into the mindset, either her testimony right now is speculative or the history that she's relying upon is speculative. Either way, this is inadmissible testimony.
I agree. Sustained.
Motion to strike?
It'll be stricken. The jury will disregard that last comment.
Ma'am, you said that at times there are fatalities associated with the bullet catch trick. In your view, have you ever found evidence that those were intentional?
Yes, there have been a few intentional fatalities in the past when people have left or put live ammunition in the prop weapon.
Could you tell us how that happens?
It might just be easier to show you. May I?
Your Honor, can the witness step down?
Of course.
And if I could have Mr. Fritsch and Mr. Jones join me.
Sure. What are we supposed to do?
Assistants are supposed to be quiet. Now, the helpful Mr. Fritsch will be our assistant. The charismatic Mr. Jones will be our magician. So in this trick, we'll demonstrate the prop proper way for the bullet catch to be done using this pen. Now, Mr. Fritsch will have you line up right about here, Mr. Jones back against there, against the wall. Now, ordinarily, a blank would be loaded into this gun. Mr. Fritsch, the assistant, would take aim and fire. Pew!
All right, ma'am, if that's what normally happens, how can it go wrong?
Well, in this case, because it was a blank, Mr. Jones is perfectly safe. Nothing actually shot out of the gun. But if Mr. Fritsch would leave the room, and someone else came along and placed an actual bullet in the gun instead, could you go get him?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm back.
Your problem.
Thank you.
And now if he takes aim and fires, pew! Unfortunately, this time, Mr. Jones, I can't imagine why someone would do this to you, but he's passed away. Thank you. A round of applause for our assistants. We'll have it side high.
All right, ma'am, you can retake your seat. Okay, we just saw how this could play out, but I want to talk about this case. Ma'am, do you know everyone at the carnival who had access to the lockbox?
From my understanding, that lockbox was kept in the prop tent at the carnival. I understand there were multiple keys. The armorer had access as well as the assistant. The armorer describes in his sworn statement dropping it off backstage before the trick occurred. It's not sure how long it was there or who might have come by during that time.
Ma'am, what can you tell us about the bullet catch trick, given what we heard about the lockbox?
Listen, this trick can be very dangerous. If someone not affiliated with the carnival came onto the premises and, brought live ammunition, for example, I mean, disaster could have occurred.
Well, based on the materials you reviewed, what was your overall conclusion?
Listen, the bullet catch, it's an extraordinarily dangerous trick. The Lambert family carnival in this case could have done everything right. And this tragedy still might have.
Thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Before we begin, do we still have that pen that was our firearm in this courtroom?
We do.
I'll take that.
It is not loaded.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I'll make sure to hold for this properly when I'm done. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, let's start by seeing if you can substantiate any of the claims that the defense is making today. Let's start with this. This was your prop for a prop gun, right, ma'am?
Sure.
You placed it right here.
Sure.
And you said that, well, someone, if they covertly placed a bullet in this chamber, that could be dangerous, right?
I would certainly think so.
You said that if someone covertly placed a bullet in this chamber and they fired, well, that could lead to a fatality, right?
Absolutely, of course.
Man, but if we're being honest with the jury, you never concluded that anyone covertly placed a bullet in that chamber.
I didn't find any specific evidence of that, only that this has happened in the past and it could be a danger.
Objection, Your Honor. Motion to strike that part of the witness's answer that was objected out in indirect examination.
It will be stricken.
Ma'am, this very carefully. I appreciate a yes or no to my question. Nowhere in your conclusions for this case did you find that someone covertly put a bullet in the gun that was used.
I did not conclude that that did happen.
Let's talk about any of the other conclusions the defense might be asking you to make today, ma'am, because your conclusions, if I'm right, they were limited to firearm practices when it came to magic tricks, right?
Overall, the implementation around this trick, its safety, how it compares to the historical implementation of this trick. So a little bit more general than that.
Sure, so the safety, the historical implementation, all that was your expertise, right?
That's absolutely correct.
That's what you based your conclusions off of.
Yes.
So, ma'am, if someone at the beginning of this trial promised this jury that you would tell them the bullet catch trick is the perfect opportunity for someone to fulfill a grudge or a vendetta. Man, you couldn't support that statement, could you?
I would say that's how it's been used in the past, in certain instances.
Man, is it your testimony now that you think it's been used in the past like this?
Oh, by people with professional jealousy, scorned lovers? That's how.
Ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and show you a copy of your expert report for this case. Give me just a second to find it. And you'll actually flip open that binder in front of you to the expert report that you have.
Yes, ma'am.
And let me know when you're there.
It might take a moment.
And I think it's right before the exits.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Of course. Ma'am, flip to the front page of that report, please. That's your name at the top of this expert report.
It is.
Flip to the back. That's her signature on the bottom of the last page.
My autograph.
Ma'am, you knew that when you came to court today, both sides would be relying upon this expert report.
Yes,
You knew it was important to disclose all the conclusions that you'd be making on the stand today.
I did.
Nowhere in that expert report do you state that the bullet catch trick is the perfect opportunity for someone to fulfill a grudge or a vendetta. I'm going to need a yes or no.
In other instances, the magician's assistant intentionally left the actual bullets in the gun to kill the magician. Professional jealousy and scorned lovers being the most common motives.
Ma'am,
That's what I just told you.
I'm asking about these words. To fulfill a grudge or a vendetta. You don't mention those words anywhere in that expert report.
The words grudge or vendetta? No, those are just general words to describe the two specific examples I gave you.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you to justify why those words are in your report. I'm asking whether or not they are. They're not in your report, grudge or vendetta.
The word grudge or vendetta? No, only examples of grudges.
Let's go ahead and compare your credibility, ma'am, with Ms. Everheart, because you reviewed her report for this case, right?
I did, and to be clear, I think she did competent and thorough work.
Go ahead,
Excuse
ma'am,
me.
I apologize.
Thank you. I just disagree with her about ultimate responsibility. I think it's equally likely that with or without the actions of Lambert Family Carnival, this could have gone wrong. Not that the responsibility solely rests on them.
So, ma'am, you disagree with her ultimate conclusion.
That's correct, but I thought she did very good work.
Ma'am, you know that Ms. Everheart, she spent 8 years in the police force, right?
That's my understanding.
You know that she taught firearm safety?
Yes,
You know that she's expert in trial before, testified as an expert witness?
I do. Personally, this is my first time.
Ma'am, let's not breeze past this because you haven't worked for the police force, have you?
Certainly not.
You haven't taught firearm safety, have you?
No.
That's right, ma'am. This is actually your first time testifying in trial as an expert witness, right?
That's exactly right. I'm very excited to get to share my area of expertise with you all.
Things, not only are you excited to share your expertise, man, you're excited to be auditioning for the role of expert witness, aren't you?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative to the
Good
word
job, Your Honor.
audition.
It's been withdrawn. Thank you.
Ma'am, you have a direct monetary interest in the outcome of this case.
I don't know if I would say that.
I don't know if you say that. Let's walk through this, ma'am. A client outside of this trial, they reached out to you, right?
Sure.
They told you that if the defendant prevails today, they'll hire you.
Yes, that's exactly right.
They told you that if the defendant prevails today because of your helpful testimony, they'll hire you.
That's exactly right. It'd be something of a trade-off with my other responsibilities, but you know what? I'd like to get into this line of work. I think it's great to have the opportunity to educate all of you.
Ma'am, have you heard of the phrase quid pro quo?
I'm sorry, I don't speak French.
It's Latin, actually. So, ma'am, that company, they'll hire you for at least 3 lawsuits if the defendant prevails in this case, right?
Right, if they think my testimony is helpful, intelligent, they'll go ahead and hire me.
Ma'am, the fact of the matter is, if the defendant prevails, well, that would mean the estate of Maximilian, they've lost this trial, right? We can agree on that?
That's my understanding of the adversarial system.
But you actually have what you might call a personal grudge or vendetta against Max Maximilian. Isn't that true?
I wouldn't say that.
Man, you blame Max Maximilian for stealing your magic tricks, don't you?
Yes, I mean, I don't like to speak ill of the deceased, please, but yes.
Man, I'm not speaking ill of the deceased. You think that he stole your magic tricks.
Yes,
Sitting in court today, you believe that he's the reason, I'm using your word here, you were nearly excommunicated from the magic community.
yes. I mean, it turned out to be a good thing. I turned things over with my career, but I think he's the reason. That is true.
You blame Max Maximilian.
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor. Can the witness step down?
Yes, you may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, I believe we have the opportunity for a break at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. Musical chairs, once again, we'll take a 10-minute break for the rules of jurisdiction, if that's all right.
That's fine, sure.
Thank you for your patience, Your Honor.
We ready to proceed? Both sides ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
We're
right.
here as well.
You may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Tad Thorne. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yes, I can. My name's Tad Thorne.
Where are you from?
I'm from Kensington. It's near Chelsea.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a financial investigator with the Marauder Bureau of Investigation.
Why did you become a financial investigator?
When I was a child, my family was involved in a pyramid scheme. They lost our house. We had to start over with what very little we had, and now I don't want anyone to go through what we did.
How long have you been an investigator for?
9 years. I started off as a patrol officer, then I moved my way up to the white collar investigative team, looking into local millionaires who said that their tax evasion was just tax avoidance, and then I joined the bureau.
Well, how are you involved in this case, investigator?
I received an anonymous tip that Lacy's carnival, the Lambert family carnival, was involved in financial misconduct. So I went undercover to determine if that was true.
Was this the first time you investigated Ms. Lambert?
No, ma'am. I've investigated in the past, all for financial misconduct.
Well, did you ever find any evidence of Ms. Lambert engaging in financial misconduct?
No, ma'am. No, I pursued the leads, but I never found any issue with the finances.
Did you find any evidence of any other kinds of misconduct, ma'am?
Not criminal misconduct, but I did have issue with the firearm that was used in Maximilian's death.
Ma'am, before we talk about that, who is Maximilian?
Well, he was a magician that worked for Lambert Family Carnival, who was shot during his trip on July 14th, 2023, and killed in front of a large crowd of people. I wanted to determine why that happened.
Were you related to him in any way?
No, not friends, not family. I only knew him a few weeks.
Ma'am, if you only knew him for a few weeks, why are you testifying here in this case?
He had no next of kin, nobody. And the public administration's office, they needed to appoint a representative. And since I work in government and I was there in the weeks leading up to his death, I was appointed.
So ma'am, now that we understand why you're here, let's see if what you saw at the carnival matches up with what we heard. Were you there for the testimony of the two expert witnesses who testified in this trial?
Yeah, I was. You know, you might not have seen me, but I was back then.
Well, we heard about someone named Angel Ashmore. Ma'am, do you know who that was?
Yes, I do. That was Lambert Family Carnival's prop master and armorer.
How often did you see that prop master and armorer, Angel Ashmore?
Every day.
Across how much time?
It's more than a month.
Well, ma'am, that prop master and armorer, did you ever see them managing props?
No, I just saw him hanging about. I never really saw him manage anything.
Well, as a police officer, are you familiar with weapons and ammunition?
I am.
We heard today about blanks being mixed with bullets. Ma'am, what sort of storage system did you see at the carnival?
None.
Were you told to keep out of any areas that might have had firearms in them?
No.
Were there any do not enter signs?
No.
Or were you allowed into areas where there were weapons?
Yeah, I was. I walked into a tent and I saw Block 22.
Was it locked up in any way?
No.
Ma'am, we heard about cleaning weapons. Did you ever see anybody clean that Block 22?
No, I did not. In fact, as the month went on, the gun, it just got dirtier and dirtier.
Well, let's talk about the day of the performance itself. Did you see Mr. Ashmore then?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What was the defendant's armorer / prop master doing that day?
Well, he was standing by the lockbox and he had a bullet in his hand. And he was looking between two boxes of ammo, bullets and blanks, just looking back between the two over and over. And I went up to him, I asked him if he needed help. And he didn't say anything.
Thank you for your time, ma'am. Your Honor, I've got no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Ma'am, you have a vendetta against Miss Lambert, don't you?
No.
Well, let's air this out, because you actually met her in high school, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You didn't like her very much back then, right?
In high school, I didn't like a lot of people. I had the whole pink hair, black clothes thing going on.
Well, ma'am, specifically, you thought she got away with everything, correct?
Yeah.
You reported her once because you thought she was cheating, true?
I did.
Ma'am, she didn't get in trouble, right?
No, she turned out she wasn't cheating.
You did.
I did, yes. If you sort of snitching on people, it's not looked kindly upon. I regret that now.
Ma'am, you almost lost your entire scholarship, correct?
Exactly.
And you blame that on Miss Lambert, correct?
On my accusing her, yeah.
And then your project didn't end in high school, did it?
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel testifying to the word grudge.
I can rephrase. Ma'am, after high school, you became a cop, correct?
I did.
When you became a cop, you started investigating her, true?
That's true, yes, for financial misconduct.
Now, you didn't find anything, right?
No,
She was completely clean, true?
absolutely right.
Ma'am, you weren't satisfied with that, were you?
At first, no, I thought I was missing something.
Ma'am, you couldn't accept the possibility that she just hadn't done anything wrong, correct?
I had a gut feeling, but my gut's been wrong.
Ma'am, your bosses, they ordered you to stop going after her, right?
They did.
You didn't stop.
No, at the time I did not. That's why I left that job.
When you say you left that job, you were fired for ignoring an order, correct?
Exactly right. I did not follow protocol, and since then I've been very on the straight and narrow.
You were fired because you refused to stop going after Miss Lambert, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Then let's talk about how that might be affecting your work in this case. Because after you were fired as a cop, you became an investigator, true?
Yes, sir.
And in 2023, once again, you saw another opportunity to investigate Miss Lambert, true?
Right. I received an anonymous tip and was instructed to follow up on it.
Well, let's actually walk through this timeline. Because before you received that tip, you requested your bosses that you investigate her again, right?
I did.
Your Your bosses said no, true.
Correct?
And then this anonymous tip you're talking about showed up, right?
Yes, sir, I'm not sure what your tone is for. It was an anonymous tip.
Well, ma'am, you can't tell us when that tip came in, right?
Oh, no, with the entirely anonymous tip, I can't tell you anything about it. Just that I looked at it, my supervisors agreed it was enough to go off of.
Ma'am, that's a yes. You can't tell us when that tip came in?
Exactly right.
You can't tell us if it came by phone or email?
No, I can't tell you a single thing.
You can't tell us anything about the contents of this tip?
No, I cannot.
But somehow, after your supervisors denied your request to investigate her, a miraculous tip appears that lets you do exactly that, right?
Objection, argumentative to the word miraculous.
That's fine, Your Honor. I can agree with that.
Very
Ma'am,
well withdrawn.
yes, Your Honor. Ma'am, let's talk about what your investigation actually found, because you said on direct that you went undercover, correct?
That's right, in the carnival.
Ma'am, when you were on carnival grounds, you said something on direct that stood out to me. You said you saw the Glock 22. Is that right?
That's true, I did.
You said it was out in the open.
It was in a prop tent, just lying on the table.
Ma'am, that means you had access to it, right?
Right. I wasn't limited in any way I could go when I was undercover.
You said on direct examination you saw the bullets, true?
I did.
You had access to those bullets, right?
Yes, sir.
And ma'am, on July 14th, when this trick went wrong, you happened to be in the crowd. Isn't that right?
I did.
Now let's talk about what happened after that trick. Because, ma'am, the police, they wanted to investigate this, right?
Of course, I mean, someone died, the police, they came.
And you sat in on the interviews, didn't you?
Right, well, after Max was shot, I had to obviously break my cover to help what was going on. And since I was the only other official there, I sat in and called the interviews.
You were sitting there listening to everything that the witnesses said, right?
Wasn't ducking in. I was there with the police officers. We were both listening to the interviews.
Let's talk about what happened after that. Because, ma'am, the law enforcement cleared Miss Lambert of all criminal wrongdoing, true?
Exactly. As I said, there was insufficient evidence for any sort of
Objection, Your
criminal.
Honor, confusing the issues if it may be heard in Rule 403.
Very well.
Your Honor, this is a civil trial. The burden of proof isn't proof beyond reasonable doubt. It's proof by a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not. Bringing onto the record at this time information about a different proceeding in which the burden was completely different risks prejudicing the jury and confusing them as to what the burden is in this case.
Response.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, we don't think this is substantially confusing the issues. We can instruct the jury, and we'll say on closing arguments, if they were to happen, that there's a difference between no criminal misconduct and the civil issues in today's case. This issue does have probative value because it shows why we're actually here. That after being cleared of all criminal misconduct, this witness went down to the public administrator's office and volunteered to be a party representative. That she's the one who started this whole thing.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
This case was on the public administrator's docket prior to her volunteering to be a party representative. We heard testimony on direct examination that she volunteered once the case was already established because Mr. Maximilian had no next of kin and she witnessed what happened to him. This mischaracterization only goes to show that it is substantially more confusing issues than probative.
And it is substantially more prejudicial than probative. Your objection is sustained.
Motion to strike.
Yes, the jury will disregard those comments.
Ma'am, after the investigation, you went down to the public administrator's office, right?
Sometime after, yeah, I did.
Now, on direct examination, you told the jury you were appointed for this role, right?
Exactly right.
Ma'am, you actually volunteered, right?
One character requires it quite like that. I wasn't waving my arm about.
You volunteered to represent the plaintiff in this case, right?
Yes, if there was anyone else that could have done it, anyone close to Max or anyone else in the department who could have, I wouldn't be here.
Ma'am, when you went down to the public administrator's office, that was the first time that anybody reached out to you about this case, true?
Right.
You were the one who made first contact, correct?
Exactly. When it became apparent no one else could, I did step in.
Thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Hi again, Ms. Thorne.
Hello?
Ma'am, Just a moment ago, opposing counsel made some pretty serious allegations about you, so I want to give you a chance to address them up front, okay?
That's quite nice.
Ma'am, are you here today because you set Ms. Lambert up?
No, no.
Are you here testifying now to take her down, as opposing counsel said in opening statements?
No, I'm not quite sure why that was said at all.
Okay, so let's get this clear for the members of the jury. Is it true that you've known Ms. Lambert for years?
Yes, I have.
Did you do anything in this case to make sure that she be treated fairly?
Yes, I followed everything by the book. I reached out to a judge and I told them about our relationship, Judge Rosenthal. And then I contacted my superiors every step of the way. I mean, I can take a personal attack, but I mean, my department is a thoughtful approach.
Are you in any way a dirty cop?
No, I've been with the NBI for 8 years and I have a spotless record.
And just to see if counsel's allegations against you make sense, ma'am, did you say anything negative about Ms. Lambert on your direct examination?
The opposite. I said that there was no evidence of any financial fraud and insufficient evidence of any criminal misconduct. I'm only here for this issue, and if I may, Miss Lambert, I did not impugn your character on testimony at all.
Ma'am, who did you mainly speak about on direct examination?
Angel Ashmore, the armor and prop master.
Who hired that armor and prop master?
Lambert Family Carnival.
Thank you for your time. Your Honor, I've got nothing further.
Thank you. Any further cross?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone need to change seats?
No, Your Honor. May we call our next witness?
Yes.
We call Miss Lacy Lambert. May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Lacy Lambert. It's good to speak with you.
What do you do for a living, ma'am?
Well, I am the CEO and managing owner of Lambert Family Carnival. It's been in my family since my great-great-grandparents. So, fun fact, it's actually one of the oldest carnivals in the United States.
What kind of carnival is Lambert?
Well, we're a traveling carnival most of the time, but sometimes we stay in one place for a little while. Think about the word carnival. Daredevils, lion tamers, rides, games. I've spent the last 2 decades of my life hoping to make that vision a reality. I would have liked to think I did a good job.
How did you go about trying to achieve that?
Well, as I mentioned, the carnival is a little bit historic. So when I inherited it officially from my parents in 2013, I wanted to make it a whole new place. I expanded our crew, I replaced our rides, our tents, I tried to improve conditions for our performers, make things safer. Just wanted to do a good job.
Let's talk about this case. How did you meet Mr. Maximo?
I went to one of his shows, and frankly, he was the best magician I've ever seen. I walked right up to him after the show, I shook his hand, I said, "Are you free to start Saturday?"
When did he start?
Saturday. He was free. And I was thankful for it. He performed with us June and half of July last year, up until the day he passed away.
How was it working with Max?
It was fantastic. A top-notch performer, a fun guy with a good attitude. Truly, I didn't have any complaints. Actually, he drew such big crowds that one day, the owner of the fairground that I was renting out for the carnival, he came up to me. He said he was a huge fan. He said that he had to see Max's final show with us. And Well, he wanted to see Max perform one of his famous tricks, the bullet catch trick.
What happened after that person asked to see Max perform the bullet catch trick?
I brought his suggestion to Max. I pushed him hard. I regret that. At first, he was hesitant. I reminded him that technically I had final say. He agreed. I immediately regretted it. I took him out to coffee a few days later. I told him that if he didn't feel comfortable doing it, just say the word. He was the performer. He had final say.
After you told Mr. Maximilian your final say, what did he say?
Well, he took it very graciously. He said, he was planning on doing it anyway. Just he asked for a couple of things from us. He asked us to provide him with a gun to replace the one that he'd had before. And he asked us to take a few precautions.
Did you take those precautions?
Of course. All he asked from us is that we maintain the gun well and that we load it with blanks that day. Now, as we've heard today, our carnival employs someone specifically to do that job. We have an armorer, Angel Ashmore. He's well qualified. He's been with us for 5 years. He trained under one of the best. I have every confidence that Angel did his job that day. And to say that he mixed things up or didn't do a thorough job, that's just antithetical to the Angel I know.
And then if you took precautions to keep this trick safe, I want to talk about who's saying you did. Were you here for the testimony of Officer Thorne?
I certainly was.
And I want to give you a chance to respond. Do you know Officer Thorne?
In a sense, we went to the same high school.
What do you remember about your relationship in high school?
Not much. I remember not getting along. I remember my senior year, her accusing me of cheating on an exam, and it became a much bigger deal than it needed to be. After that, I just hoped we could act like adults about the whole thing. But Tab became a police officer. And for the next 10 years, she was calling me up, accusing me of serious financial crime.
And did any of those accusations lead to convictions?
No, not a one. I complied with everything an investigator ever asked of me. I provided my financials. I never understood why it was happening. I never understood why she seemed so insistent.
Did you ever report Officer Thorne for those persistent accusations?
I did, and as she said today, she was fired from the police department because of it. I hoped that the whole thing would just blow over. I hadn't heard from her.
When did you find out that she was involved with this case?
On the day of the accident, I was being interviewed by the police because my carnival had been turned into a crime scene. And she walked in to sit in on the interviews. I didn't know what she was doing there. She didn't say anything. She just sat back and looked at me. The police officers, they ask me a lot of questions, and then they walk out, and then they walk back in, they say, I'm free to go. And, for a minute there, I'm so relieved. But on her way out, she just, she gives me a look. She shakes her head. I didn't know what that meant at the time.
I want to talk more about that day. Did you see when Officer Thorne arrived?
Well, no. Apparently she was undercover at my carnival for months. God knows why. I did hire a stock girl who was, tall. Most of them were boys. She was a tall young woman. I'd seen her around a few times that day. I guess, thinking back on it now, it's sort of alarming.
Did you ever see this tall stock girl on the day of Mr. Maximilian's death?
Sure, a few times. I saw her stocking teddy bears. I saw her refilling the water for the, when you throw the ball at the target and the guy gets dumped. I saw her carrying the lockbox to backstage for Max's trick. I was leading the fairground owner and his family into the audience to watch it happen.
You said you saw her carrying that lockbox. Did you suspect anything at that point?
No, I just thought she was one of the stock girls carrying a lockbox. I mean, now after everything I've heard, I'm a little bit alarmed that that happened.
What happened after you saw her with that lockbox?
Well, we all sat down in the audience and we watched Max's show that day. And I wish I hadn't seen it more than anything. I wish it hadn't happened.
Man, would you ever intentionally put Mr. Maximilian's life at risk?
No. The safety of my performers is incredibly important. I have lost everything. My name has been dragged through the mud, financially, emotionally. That was one of the worst days of my life. Why would I put my best performer in danger? I had every confidence that we were protecting them.
Thank you for your time. I have no further questions.
Thank you. You're cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Lambert, how much was Mr. Maximilian's life worth to you?
Objection, argumentative.
Can I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's important that we hear from the defendant in this case how much she valued the deceased's life. It goes directly to whether or not she was willing to protect him as she was.
Your Honor, Ms. Stepanov is trying to assassinate my witness's character with this accusation. To put a value on someone's life, she's trying to ask her to answer a question that's impossible to answer.
Is the question impossible to answer?
Not at all, Your Honor. She could say that it's unestimable. It's fine for her to answer in any which way she chooses, Your Honor. This is probative to find out exactly what value Mr. Maximilian added to the carnival and whether or not it was worth any kind of cost-cutting measures.
I'll allow it for that basis.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lambert, go ahead and answer the question, how much was Mr. Maximilian's life worth to you?
It's a human life. You can't put a price on it.
So hiring a part-time assistant armorer, ma'am, how much does that cost?
Our prop master and armorer did do the same job, but that's common for smaller productions.
Hold on, ma'am, that wasn't my question. I asked you, how much does it cost to hire a part-time assistant armorer?
I don't know, probably several $1,000s if you want a genuine answer to that question each month. But Angel Ashmore was incredibly competent, and I trusted him to do his job as the armorer for a carnival. I resent that implication.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you to justify Angel Ashmore's position. I'm asking about what you know. Did you just testify that you don't know how much it costs to hire an assistant armorer for a carnival?
I don't know if I could give you an exact figure without looking into it. I don't hire my staff without research.
Ma'am, you were the CEO of Lambert Family Carnival, right?
That's correct, I am.
You received news months ago that this case was coming to trial.
I did.
You received news months ago that you would be on trial, right?
Yes, I did.
But the answer, I don't know, are you asking the jury to believe that's credible for a defendant?
Excuse me. I'm telling you that I can't give you an exact estimate of what it would cost to hire specific personnel for however many hours in the day to do a specific job based on their background experience. It's a question that takes a little bit of time to answer. I would have to do my research based on the situation.
Okay, so you're saying you have to do your research. You didn't do that research, did you?
Angel Ashmore was a perfectly competent armorer, and I believe he did his job.
Ma'am, my question wasn't about whether or not you believe the armorer you hired did his job well for your carnival. It was about whether or not you did the research to find an assistant prop master. You didn't, did you?
No, at the time, I didn't hire him.
And what about a brand new gun? Did you consider buying a brand new gun for Mr. Maximilian?
I did. I reviewed various price options. All of them, of course, had been pre-approved for safety. I chose the one that was the most economical, while of course still being a safe and reasonable choice.
And I noticed you use the word economical. Another word for that is cheap, right?
No,
Well, let's be clear here, man, because you were given several different price points, right?
that's right. We compile a list of all possible workable options. Again, we only compile options that are going to be safe for our performers. Then from those, we choose which is the best for the situation.
Was that a yes to my question?
What was your question?
I can repeat it, ma'am, but if you give a yes or no, this will be easy to answer. Ma'am, you're given several different price points, right?
That's absolutely correct.
And ma'am, it's true that even though you had several different price points that were your options, you actually promised Mr. Maximilian that he would buy a brand new gun for the bullet catch string.
He asked us to replace his gun. At one point, he asked for brand new props. Promise is a strong word. I told him that we do our best.
Ma'am, your words, you told him that you buy a brand new gun, yes or no?
I said we do our best, yeah.
You didn't, did you?
No, we did replace the gun like he asked us to do, but we found an option that was, of course, safe, workable, but it wasn't brand new.
Economical, right?
That's correct.
You bought a second-hand gun,
Yes, that's correct.
one that you got from a local gun club, right, ma'am?
Yes,
In fact, all of the props for Mr. Maximilian's trick, they were approved by you at the lowest price point that was available to you, yes.
again, from a list of good options, yes.
All right, ma'am, so you were talking about safety precautions in your direct examination. Let's talk about what exactly those were. When you took over for Lambert Family Carnival, you hired a brand new prop manager, right?
When I took over, that's when we hired Angel, yes.
Angel Ashmore had absolutely no experience at the time, right?
That's right. That's why he apprenticed with our former prop master for a year first.
He never managed props in his life, is that true?
That's true.
Never worked at a carnival in his life?
No, he was fresh out of college.
He was an investment banker.
His father is.
Now, even though he doesn't come from a carnival background, you went around telling people that he was the best prop master in the business, didn't you?
I did.
I'm sorry, is this funny to you, then?
No.
Is it funny that you lie about Angel's credentials?
Angel is a perfectly competent armorer.
Here's the thing, man, you're saying perfectly competent in court today, but what you were telling people is that he is the best prop master in the business. That's what you said.
I've said that before. That's true.
That's a lie.
It's not entirely true. It's my opinion that in 10 years, he could be the very best. Right now, he's extremely competent and very eager at his job.
Man, we can agree that he is the very best, and he will be the very best 10 or 20 years down the line. Those are two different statements, right?
I would agree with that.
Man, you yourself admit that even today, he is not the best prop master. True.
No, only a very, very good one.
But you chose him as the person to manage Mr. Maximilian's prop.
That's correct.
You chose him to be the only person who managed his props.
That's right. At the time, we only had one prop master.
Because after you hired him, you actually fired all the assistants, didn't you?
That's right. After a while, we had to let some of our assistants go. A carnival, it's got ups and downs when it comes to our budget.
This was actually the first time in your company's history that you had a prop master who was also the armorer with no assistants. True?
That's true. We'd actually, never needed someone with firearm training before. We had our prop master certified just in case, but this was our only active armorer, actually.
I have a few more questions.
Okay.
When Mr. Maximilian tried to talk to you about this trick, you told him you would sue him for breach of contract. Yes or no?
Yes, and I regretted that immediately. That's why I told him never mind, that he could back out if he wanted to.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
No redirect, Ron. We just asked him this land to be allowed to step down.
Yes, you may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe at this time, both sides rest. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and in this jurisdiction, there's no closing arguments.
Yes, Ron.
All right. Thank you. Give our scoring judges an opportunity to finish their paperwork.
While the judges finish up their ballots, can we get a round of applause for that? In just a second here, once I get confirmation that all the judges have submitted their ballots, it's going to be my pleasure to introduce them. They're each going to introduce themselves a little bit and give a couple of comments and feedback while we wait for Mr. Chalmers to return to those tabs. Judges, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you see that your ballot has been submitted. We're going to start with some judge introductions. I'd like to start with our presider for this round, the Honorable Graciela Freixas. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. First of all, I really wish that I could bring the witnesses and the attorneys to my courtroom because you have no idea the caliber of your performance as compared to some of the attorneys that actually come in and present cases before jury. I sit in a dedicated civil jury trial courtroom, so I do nothing but civil jury trials back to back. As I'm finishing one, I've already been assigned my next one. And it can be anything from asbestos exposure to slip and fall to medical malpractice. It runs the gamut. But I love what I do, but there are days when I love it more than other days. And that's when I have attorneys that know how to present a case. I've been on the bench for 19 years. I've practiced civil litigation for 24 years before that. I specialize in the defense of medical malpractice cases. So that's what I did when I was an attorney. And this, Gonzalo had told me that I was in for a treat, but I think he played it down because it really was phenomenal. So thank you for allowing me to participate. It was great.
All right. We've got Mr. Cody Smith.
Hi, I'm going to stand up.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cody Smith. I am a writer and a director. I'm actually getting ready to go to grad school for film. I'm super hyped about that. I competed in mock trial. I graduated in 2022. I competed with Howard University, where I was a double All-American. Turn me up. After that, though, I went on to, after graduation, I started coaching with UCLA. So for that reason, I actually did nose out this round. I got conflicted out, which was a huge bummer. But they let me stay to give some notes, so I'm super hyped about that. Are we waiting on it? Is it?
You can provide your
Oh, sweet. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, really, really fun. I mean, I think witnessing is awesome. I'm so hyped about this. It's like little Mario Party tournament. You get your little your items that you get to bring in, or like a flashlight, the pen. Like that was awesome. I love that it's like calling in like the squad. You'd be like, hey, we got like a guest appearance on our show. So in general sense, I just love that. In terms of like individual performances, though, I think both witnesses just have done like such a wonderful job. I've actually seen both of these people perform before, so I kind of like had an idea of like what was generally going to happen. But then I was wrong because they did stuff that I didn't expect at all, and that was like really, really interesting. I really, really appreciate how both parties brought very, very different interpretations of what it means to be like the top level witness in mock trial, right? Like, what does that actually mean if you want to hold that mantle? And I think both parties did a really, really good job representing that, whether that be having a really strong adaptability in the moment, whether that be being able to, crack a joke, at a moment where it's like, oh, should you do that there? But it's like, no, you shouldn't because it was funny. Everyone laughed. Like, that was a great idea, Or even whether that just be bringing in really strong technical aspects, being able to read where the other person's going with their argument, et cetera, et cetera. So I think just wonderful job all around. Really hyped round, really excited to watch it. And, 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up from this guy. So yeah. Thank you. We have Ms. Anna Eldridge. I'm gonna go.
Hey everybody, I'm Anna Eldridge. I'm a coach and a lawyer, and I've been involved in mock trial in some way for 20 years. I also had the opportunity to work with the team, so I know all the effort that was put into this. And I just want to say, I think one of the criticisms that comes with like high-level mock trial from sort of the peanut gallery is that it's so scripted, right? And I saw such brilliance in this round that was so off the cuff, like such thoughtfulness and responsiveness that it like almost chokes me up. This was incredible. I feel honored to have watched you all compete. And I just think that this proves how fun this activity can be, how incredibly intelligent the people who do it at the highest levels are, and how responsive, sharp, in the moment, the best of this activity are. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. I really just was blown away by the performances today.
Mr. Michael Chandler.
Hi, my name is Michael Chandler. I competed with Brown for about 5 years. And then I coach them now, and then now I work for a nonprofit, and I've been coaching this whole time. Such a fun round to watch. The defense theory was so cool. I also was coaching during this tournament, so I knew the theory, and like the way you guys read the case was so interesting. And then on the way you guys responded was brilliant. Shout out Juliana and Emma. The biggest thing that I thought was great was what you guys were doing when the camera wasn't on you. In the open, at one point, Rhea goes like, the defense, and then the camera zoomed on you, and you were like, Zach! You're like, oh, right. And then when it finally came to your open, and it became like that was central to your theory, it made it so, it made it clear that you were thinking about your performance from the moment you walked in this room. And then let's say there's an objection battle, and you are just, take off your glasses, right? And it was perfect. And the way you guys not just present your characters, but lived your characters, it's amazing.
Thank you. Mr. Adam Selkoff.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam. I coach UC Santa Cruz. For those who do not live in California, that's about 6 hours north from here. This is my 6th round judging in the past 2 days. Yeah, it's been so much fun, and like everyone has been amazing this weekend. But you two in this final round were truly, truly excellent. And the thing that I appreciated most about both of your performances is that you did what you do best, right? Like every witness can be interpreted in different ways. And I've seen it this weekend interpreted in plenty of different ways. But with your two witnesses, you took the things that make you unique and that make you special and that brought you to this point, and you added that to these witnesses. And that was really, really exciting to watch. My favorite moments from the trial were the 2 demos where you pretty much did the same thing in very different ways with the flashlight and sending Max out of the room and everything about those. I just loved both of those demos a lot.
Thank you. We have Mr. Lee Rosenthal.
Hi everyone, I'm Lee. If I look a little younger than the rest of these judges up here, it's because I am. I'm the current president of Stanford Mock Trial and the alternate for the Gauntlet this year. So it's been really fun sort of getting to spectate these rounds. Obviously this was a fantastic round. You guys both did phenomenally. I'd say the most important thing that stood out to me this round was just the versatility you guys brought. Like Emma, like going from like, a Southern sort of gun expert who was really like focused on their job and really loved what they do, transitioning over to like this sort of British character that was like really investigating everything. And like it was just really well done, and I really like the differences between them. And then Juliana, like starting out sort of as more of like a professorial, I guess, character who had this like level of expertise in their field and their interest in educating, and then transitioning to what was a pretty sad defendant who was really leaning into the elements of how personal this case is to them. I thought was a really good night by Lambert. And yeah, I thought you guys both did a phenomenal job.
It was our pleasure to have Lee as well on our final round panel. For those who don't know how an alternate works this tournament, Lee traveled all the way down here, prepped for this case on the off chance that somebody might drop out. So our reward to him is in twofold. He got to judge the final round for us right now, and he's also the first in for next year's Gauntlet. So congratulations. We have Madison Thomas.
Hi guys, my name's Madison. I competed in Anthem mock trial, probably against both of you at some point over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's so much nicer to be watching and not like stressing out about crossing you guys because I can actually enjoy it and not worry about how I'm going to get demolished on the other side. I'm also rising 2L here at UCLA on the trial team. Adam really took the words out of my mouth where I came into this with the perspective of having seen both compete before and kind of knowing generally like what you each bring to the table, and to see your strengths so clearly highlighted in these two roles was fantastic. I think particularly in the second character, we were both the party rep, the way that there was still like, I feel like some credibility issues with each of you, but the way you handled it was so like believable and realistic. It was a pleasure to watch you both. So congratulations for making it, and I'm so excited for you guys.
We've got Mr. Mike Kelly.
Hey everyone, Michael Kelly. I competed for USC. We were the first. My first year was our first year, so I did that for a couple of years. Coached at USC for 5 years. Coached at UCLA for 10 years. Part of 2 championship teams. My last year, I think, was Brandon's first year of the program. So I've been not coaching for about 5 years or so. And so, yeah, I'm honored to have been here. Professionally, I am a deputy public defender for County of LA for 16 years. I'm a recruitment coordinator, so not just everyone here, everyone in the room. If you're interested with interning or clerking with our office, let me know. Come find me after the round. You guys did great. They told us to give us comments to each of you. So I'll start with the plaintiff. Actions, that's your wheelhouse. It's great that you made them part of your witnesses. Such different types of witnesses, not like the standard character, and the fact that you were able to like seamlessly incorporate that into different character types was amazing. Your ability to testify with your eyes is top notch. Your one-word answers, great. Usually witnesses want to talk and you tell them to talk as much as they can, but the fact that you had on direct, on cross, this one-word answer, and you were very compelling. On the defense side, the fact that you were able, top-level diffusing of like that impeachment, like you own that impeachment, that was great. You were getting in trouble with some testimony, and then you threw out the French line, which was hilarious. You kind of just turned it back around. That was great. Your sincerity was amazing on your second witness. Just that sincerity. I really believed you in a way. So you guys both were great, and thank you for having me.
And last but not least, Mr. Steven Johnson.
Hi all, I'm Steven. I practice in San Diego now, doing plaintiff side securities fraud class action cases, which is a lot of it. I sue rich people in large companies when they do fraud. Before that, I also coach among other teams here at UCLA Law. So please feel free to look me up, reach out if you have any questions, if you like winning and stuff. This is the only law school that doesn't. Also about the round. Y'all are spectacular, obviously. I agree with everything that's been said. This is so much fun to watch and to be able to judge. And I thought that this was, like, to make a sports analogy, this was like positionless mock trial. Really? Like, I was told before this round that I was going to see experts and party representatives, and I was not going to see characters and sympathetic witnesses. I saw all 4. All of them were spectacular. So thank y'all so much for letting me judge.
A big round of applause for Thank you all so much for giving up your time for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you. As for now, we are still waiting on those tab results to come back. So we're going to put a brief pause here and collect your things. Both councils, both teams, everyone who competed, we'd love to take some pictures of you if we can real quick before those results come back. So if those guys would come up to the front here, we'll take some pictures, and everyone else can break the awkward silence and have a team come conversation, that'd be great. Thank you. have our results back and we'd love to announce a winner. I do have a quick announcement before we begin. I was told in the hallway that in my rush of thank yous, I did miss a UCLA volunteer thank you. Now I'm going to embarrass her by singling her out right here. And so can we get a big round of applause for Abby from UCLA? Now, to the results. We had 7 ballots that were being scored. There were a total of 15 check marks per ballot. The first 2 ballots that came in went to the D. The next 3 ballots that came in went to the P. The next ballot that came in went to D. And the last ballot that came in, you can stop me if you've heard this before, was an 8-7 split. So this year's victor of the Gauntlet is Miss Juliana Mothersbaugh. For our runner-up in this year's Gauntlet, Miss Emma Rose. Thank you everyone for an incredible Gauntlet. Thank you everyone watching from home. Get home safely, guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you.